Dressed for work, I gathered my things, including a handful of quarters for a much-needed coffee, and locked the back door. The sun was shining, but the air was very damp. From the look of the darkened pavement, it was clear it had rained overnight. The car under the carport was dry, but the windows were steamed. They were all open an inch, a tactic to keep the car cool on warm days. But this time it backfired. The inside of the car was wet and smelled wet. I went to the trunk for a roll of paper towels. Closing the trunk, I noticed Carol's pickup truck on St. Peter Street behind the next-door neighbor's house. Strange. Who does she know there? I wondered sleepily. I closed the trunk and got to the car for the most part unconcerned. I wiped the steering wheel and the gear shift with the towels. Then I wiped the dashboard and the windshield. I started the car and turned on the defroster, wondering whether defrosting might have any impact on the heavy steam. I rolled the windows down farther and waited a few seconds. It worked. Testament to German, or in this case Mexican, know-how. You know Jettas were made in Mexico? With the windshield clear, the periwinkle clapboards on the back of the house came into sharper focus. Nothing but blue from one screen door to the other. Tony's screen door. Tony. And Tony. No, I told myself, perplexed. Impossible. She's parked there by coincidence, visiting someone else, for some other reason. She's having coffee with her friend down the street. She was not the girl in repose I'd been forced to fall asleep to. Carol didn't giggle like that. She would be mellower and more mature after sex, not made to be so girlish, especially by a regular guy's guy like Antonio. Last but not least, she would not be so blatant as to leave her truck where I would plainly see it the next morning. Carol would be more discreet than that. No, doesn't add up. And so I left for work blindly content and undistracted. John called me at the office just before heading off to the airport. His dad's show was a success. 2 paintings sold and several people had expressed a real interest, including a few new restaurant owners. John would be back in mid-May around Mother's Day, and we'd touch base then. After 4 routine work days, if not a little busier than some, I called in sick Friday morning to get some personal time. At PJ's, I bumped into Carol, alone I was glad to see, reading the USA Today Friday, Saturday, Sunday edition. Michael. She sounded genuinely surprised. But then it was Friday and I should have been at work. Shouldn't you be at work? How did you know? I stepped down off the ramp. I've given them 4 good days this week. Needed some time off. Carol folded the section she was reading and put it on top of the others. Well, good for you then. I don't know how much work I can do today either. Get some coffee and come join me. Right. The line at the counter was slow and typical of an after-rush hour clientele. The morning slam was over, and so naturally the servers behind the counter were similarly unhurried. No one in the place had anything important to do or any place important to go. 10 minutes passed before my small, tall coffee was poured and paid for. Carol was standing and waiting on the ramp by then, paper under her arm. Leaving already? I asked. Come with me, she suggested, smiling. I've got some rounds to do. What rounds? Just come. I could use the company. And so it was. There was nothing to do but comply. Sure, why not? Good, said Carol. We'll start with a nice eviction. It was funny the way she said it, like she was cooking me a 4-course meal and the eviction was super salad. Who's getting evicted? I asked, amused by the darkness of it. And then for a second, too optimistically, I thought it might be Tony. Oh, some tenants of mine who haven't paid rent for 2 months. Over on Lopez. I think they're both on heroin. Wow, how romantic. Yeah, tell me about it, said Carol. She turned and smiled widely as we started down the sidewalk toward the truck, which was now parked down on Carrollton almost to the Ford dealership. "You can be my muscle, my knee breaker," Carol then added in a somewhat serious tone. I laughed at the joke, but wondered what I had gotten myself into. As it turned out, nothing but a knock and a no answer. Carol slipped the envelope with the eviction notice underneath her front door. "Typical delinquent renters," Carol said, getting back in the truck. "Never home." "They're probably scared of you," I told Carol. "Yeah, I get that a lot," she admitted. "I'm actually surprised," I started. "What do you mean?" "I guess I'm surprised to see you evict. I can easily see you as the more benevolent type." "Oh yeah?" she questioned, with a laugh and wide-open eyes, pulling the truck into gear. "Try skipping out on your rent a couple of times, Michael Dahl. See where that gets you." Point well taken. "Who, me? I wouldn't dream of it." "Of course not. You're the reliable type, right?" "Exactly," I concurred, glad that she described me as I like to think of myself. "And that's why you're here with me now," she laughed. Not seeing at first what was so funny, I agreed again. "Exactly," I told her. "You can always count on Mike."